You see these guys walking out with air conditioners, with refrigerators on their back, the craziest thing, and the police aren't allowed to do their job. Now, if you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately.
What sounded like a description of the movie franchise The Purge was just one part of Trump's unhinged weekend as we head into the final 5 weeks before Election Day. It included the actual 34-time convicted felon trying to brand his opponent, Vice President and former prosecutor Kamala Harris, as a criminal for her actions related to the border, both at his rallies and in social media posts, calling for her to be impeached, prosecuted, or both. And when Trump wasn't threatening to prosecute Google for allegedly only displaying bad stories about him or wailing that Fox should not be allowed to air any of Harris's events on its network, he was spewing increasingly sinister, violently racist rhetoric about his opponent, black-run cities, and immigrants.
Kamala is mentally impaired. Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. Think about it, only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country. Anybody would know this. I'm here only because they cheat, and they cheat in this state, especially in Philadelphia. And I mentioned a couple other areas, but for the most part, but Philadelphia is out of control. Detroit is out of control. Atlanta is out of control. Places are out of control, out of control. They make our criminals look like babies. These are stone-cold killers. They'll walk into your kitchen, they'll cut your throat. That's over 647,572 migrant criminals who Kamala set loose to rape, pillage, thieve, plunder, and kill the people of the United States of America. And they're not going to change. They're only going to get worse.
First of all, it's Kamala, Donald. Even little kids know that. And mind you, in a normal world, if a candidate spoke like this, they would be elected to have their head examined, not elected to the White House. But this is anything but normal times. And one has to wonder, is Trump just demented? Or is he doing this to try to appeal to a certain type of voter? Joining me now is Tom Bonnier, political strategist and senior advisor for TargetSmart, and Fernand Amandi, Democratic pollster and MSNBC political analyst. I'm going to let you go to that first, Tom, because this kind of just insane talk and Hitler talk, it seems like either Trump is really just not very bright or his brain is smoothing out as he ages, or he's doing it on purpose. And it seems to me that the latter might be the case.
I agree.
Who would it appeal to?
There's a tendency to try to sane wash the things he says and to say, well, when he goes off script, he's just speaking off the top of his head. What struck me about what we saw in those clips is most of that was scripted. That was off a teleprompter. That's a campaign strategy. It's not an especially new one, the strategy of fear. But why is this their strategy at this point? They're seeing the same numbers that we're seeing. We're seeing this rise of intensity and enthusiasm that you and I have been talking about over the last few weeks after Vice President Harris became the nominee. They're seeing the enthusiasm gap where perhaps Republicans aren't as energized right now. We don't know for sure, but there's lots of data pointing in that direction. And so what's the old tried and true trick that they go back to? It's fear, it's racism, and it's violence.
Right. And Fernand, one would just assume based on Donald Trump's past proclivities when it comes to black people, that it's literally just trying to stoke white voters. But it also is directed at bumping up his numbers with Latino voters. Let me show you some of the new numbers in our NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. So in general election among Latino voters, Harris is beating, Telemundo and NBC News poll. Harris is beating Trump 54-40 when it comes to Latino voters overall. But that's actually high for a Republican. When you break it down among Latino voters, Dems are plus 44. We're plus 44 with Obama in 2012. They were plus 38 in 2016 when Hillary won the popular vote but lost the election. They were up 33 with Biden, and now it's only 14. Then we go to Latino voters by age and sex. Men under 50 is where Trump is leading. And that stands out to me, Fernand, because every other group, men over 50, women over 50, women over 50, and et cetera, Harris is doing really well. And then I'll do one last one and on education. Men with no college degree, Latino men with no college degree, Trump is up 13. And last one, let me just one more, Catholic Latinos, Harris is up 20. Evangelical Protestants, Trump is up 36. So he is also using these really venal appeals, ironically, to appeal to Latinos. Why is that working?
Well, keep in mind a couple things, Joy. For those younger Latinos, those are under the age of 30 for the most part. I mean, these are people that have come to political consciousness in an era where Trump has been the dominant figure of political life. So he's been the guy. And his campaign, for that matter, has made it an effort and a point to target that group. That's why they've done so many events in the UFC, Mixed Martial Arts Underground, trying to really cater, specifically lock into that group. Now, those numbers that you showed earlier, are they concerning for Democrats? Yes, they are, because it was a trend that we've seen now over several election cycles. The silver lining are two. Remember, the Hispanic vote is also getting larger. So even though that those margins, Joy, aren't necessarily the same, you're still netting out more raw votes when it comes to Democrats, as long as they win that Hispanic vote. Secondly, even within the margin of error, I still think when the voting is done, and that's, remember, the poll that counts, we'll see it in the exit polls, Kamala Harris will be above 60%. Donald Trump will be below 40% when it comes to Hispanic voters. The other thing that matters most, yes, the national numbers are a trend line. What's happening in the battleground states? If we really saw this effect nationally with Hispanic voters in the battleground states, Kamala Harris would be in trouble there. Truth of the matter is, she's not. She's doing very well in Pennsylvania, where the Hispanic vote is helping drive the lead she has. Same for the North Carolina lead she has there. A lot of that is driven by the growth of the Hispanic vote. They're voting for Harris. You see what's keeping Nevada in the Harris column, that Hispanic vote as well. So, yes, these are numbers to keep an eye on, but it's not the doomsday that I think a lot of folks want to think it is. And when you factor in also the weaponization of polling, not suggesting our colleagues at the NBC Telemundo poll have done that, but there are other polls out there that are trying to make a case of reality that is not what we're seeing when it comes to the actual numbers in those battleground states.
That is a great point, Tom. I want to bring you in this because you and Simon Rosenberg have talked about this a lot. We have seen a major poll company, which is Rasmussen Reports. We hear about it a lot. They've been secretly working with with the Trump campaign. They've been, emailing back and forth about the timing of polls, emailing with Dan Scavino, Susie Wiles. And then, of course, we know that we've seen a bunch of right-leaning polls dumped into the polling averages. This happened in 2022, which created this belief there'd be a red wave. The polling averages become less useful, don't they, Tom, if you've got a bunch of sort of right-wing leaning polls dumped into them?
It's a huge problem. And to your credit, no one did a better job in sounding the alarm in 2022 when we first saw this sort of thing happen than you on this show and Simon Rosenberg, as you mentioned. The news is it's happening again. They're doing it even more out in the open, but we're seeing it impact the polling averages in these battleground states, as Fernand said. And they've promised that they'll do more of this. And we have to remember, even though this is all now out in the open and they got this memo, like the CEO of Rasmussen is an open election denier, open Trump supporter. So we shouldn't be surprised. The real surprise to me is that folks in the media and some of these public averages are falling for it again 2 years later.
And we need to remember that the reason they're doing this is because they want to be able to say the election was stolen because they're not even confident Donald Trump can beat Kamala Harris. Tom Bonier and Fernand Amandi, thank you both very much.